What's up? I thought we should look over some of the lists that have been doing very well as we had a big weekend full of games. I did a little video on the Axion event and the lists there on the Medify behind the Kiwi Wool charity subscription tier. So if you want to check that out, you can. Ali managed to win the Sunday event with the Artabax Sapphire Steel list, which is really awesome. Really proud of her for that. It was awesome to see. But over here on the channel, I thought we'd go across and look at all the lists that have been performing very well, over every event. It's Sapphire Steel in this set, I mean, in most sets, but in this set, there are so many ways to build it, so many interesting different directions you can take the deck that there's just so many builds, and of course, I can become quite biased to some of them. I've never really had a very nice opinion on the Oswald builds, but to be honest, at this point, you have to respect that it's done so well consistently over so many different events. So yeah, it's definitely one to keep an eye on. I probably won't be doing too much content or even really playing an Oswald build, as it's never really for me. I think here I'll still be focusing in on non-ramp versions of Sapphire Steel, but of course, we need to look at everything and see which version and which deck is the best one to play if you want to play the ink color combo. So this is just an interesting one. I looked at it, came second at the Hunter Burden event. I believe it was the Hunter Burden event, or playing at the Playing Ducks. Sorry, this is Playing Ducks, not the Hunter Burden. I have got that one up on my screen as well to have a look at. Actually, this is one uh, from there, I believe. No, it's not from there. It's from Playing Ducks Home Master 4 Powered, whatever this is. But it looked really cool, and it was really interesting because the Kiwi Birds with the Alice and the Pluto is a list. I wouldn't say I've like 100% dropped, but I was so sort of intrigued and interested in the Artabax build that I've been focusing on that. But it's really nice to see this list is out there, and of course, if people are playing with it and it's doing well, there's no reason to stop playing it. I really do like this list. There's one I really wish I could go back to, and I might do as well because I really love the aggro game style that Alice can provide for you. And with this build, I'm not particularly sure what's that different. I do like that Zeus is in there, and there's no John Silver, which I think is pretty good because if you just drop John Silver, you can start playing Zeus. Got like a decent amount of singers here as well, actually a very nice amount of singers for the Zeus. There's a lot going on this list, but I feel you could play a really aggressive quest out, find out if you win or not game style with it. So that's really cool. Yeah, it managed to do quite well. I just thought I wanted a list on the screen before we start looking at all the other ones and start talking about them. But this one really did take my eye. So the player MC Gable, yeah, awesome list. I really like it. Um, and looking at the one that's performed the best at the is the Hunter Burden Biden, the one that's run by 20 Law, their charity event that they do every year. It was an Oswald build, and the Oswald build looks like it is keeping the Queen in. I don't know if anyone knows about that. I've just heard that that was in a Zan build, so I can't even remember where I heard that from. This does look pretty cool, and I actually played against that on Axion on Sunday, and it was really good. Like they had like literally nothing on board besides the Queen. I couldn't remove it. I thought, I'm not going to try and spend my entire turn digging and maybe hardcast a removal for it, so I'll just let it sit there. Pass the turn over, they use the Queen, they find one Porp Score, play Hiram, board's wide, hand is full again, and it was just really good. She's even a 3/3 as well. So just another, and you can play it on three. So just another thing to play on three as well to get you more dig into that deck. So yeah, overall actually I was fairly impressed with the Queen. I imagine again the reasons why I dislike Oswald is it will go into the fact that she's not going to hit a load of times. She's going to have a ton of games where she doesn't hit. She bottom decks you, but she is Inkable, so she's not as overbearing as Oswald. I feel like with Oswald that if you have it, you kind of have to play it. You kind of have to make some use out of it. You do have a T-Pro and a Quill to get rid of it, but at that point, if you're adding Inkables to the deck that you also want to get rid of, then why are you playing it? So I'm pretty sure you have to get Oswald down fairly early, and you have to commit to the Oswald popping off game plan. So yeah, really cool list. I imagine this is actually where most Sapphire Steel is going to go, and I'm actually the point where when you sort of pair into a deck, you can, you have right now we have like C2 and Ice, red blue, and then you have the DKP list, red blue, and you don't really know which one it is until a certain thing is done. That could preferably be like if they play a Develop Your Brain on turn 1, you can make a very good guess that it is the DKP list over the Cecil and Ice because they don't tend to play that. But of course, for those first turn or two before they kind of make it clear what they're playing, you don't really know. So you make a gamble, and I'm recently been making a gamble on It's Cecil and Ice. And I think with Sapphire Steel, when I play into one and they haven't made it very clear which build they're on, because maybe they've just porped past, Tipo past, and you're not really sure, I'm still probably going to heavily assume it's an Oswald build, as I'm seeing them the most popular one. Um, Out there right now, which is awesome. I love that Sapphire Steel is getting played. I'd probably, yeah, in the nicest way, I don't love that it's Oswald because I've just never been a big fan of it. But yeah, awesome deck. It looks like it has this amazing high roll potential as well. Even again, that game I played on Sunday, the player had they stated their hand was quite bricked. I mean, they were playing very slowly. I think they missed an ink or something like that, and it was quite unfortunate. And then they ink with an Oswald out, and they get like a workshop. They play a Porp, and they draw a couple cards, and they're back in the game. So I think the thing that Oswald does provide you is it has such a high roll potential that it can turn a really bad game into a good game. I think on the flip side, though, this is why I dislike the deck so much. No, I don't really dislike it that much. You have to include these cards that will provide you that brick first, like more often, to get you out of that brick by playing these cards. So it doesn't really add up, in my opinion. You know, you could start your hand, you've got a bunch of Oswalds and Maurice's workshops, and just like some cards that are just based on some lucky dimes because you play like 3 lucky dimes, which is madness. They provide you with the bricks because you're playing so many uninkables, and they're such a strange card that you just basically want Oswald to be popping when you ink. So you get yourself into this state, and then to get yourself out of it, you have to use the Oswald as well. So awesomeness, I'm pretty sure it's going to keep winning. I'm pretty sure it's going to be everywhere, and everyone kind of get excited to play against Oswald decks. But yeah, really cool list. And going into that one, there was another one down here as well, which yeah, this one kind of took my eye as well because it was using Glean, which is a card I've mentioned. I don't know if the player I mentioned. I think they might have made this really good assumption by themselves, but this is a very classic Sapphire. So I think the only card from set 7 is Bell in there. And yeah, it's just a really clean game style. Not using the Hiram, going in fully on the dock, and then using Glean to get you some more uh, what do you call it, lore from the items. And I think it's very interesting as well with Glean because it can be very much a proactive card pushing you for that 2 lore. You might need later on in the game if you've got a bunch of items and you kind of just want to get that lore to get over the finish line. But also if you ever need to get rid of their quill or their dime, giving them 2 lore is not that bad, especially against a dime where it's like you may give them 2 lore but that you stall them for a turn to do something. It's very good. I think it's very awesome. I think sadly it doesn't have too many answers for a thing like a big Tamatoa. I imagine you're just playing such an aggressive game that you don't really mind if they play any Tamatoas, even the 6 or the 8 cost. I mean, a Zeus in there would be very nice for the 8 cost one. Um, but yeah, you don't really want answers for those bigger targets. But I think you maybe just play such an aggressive game that you close the game out before any of that ever becomes a problem to you. So yeah, awesome list again, done a really good performance. It is worth noting as well that Sapphire Steel didn't win this event, which is I think might be a bit of a uh, thing that happens again. It's like Sapphire Steel is very good, it's doing the best it's ever been, but it's maybe not going to still close out the event. I don't even know if it will win a regional if we get a regional for set 7. And again here, so this was a big event in Germany. 120, I believe it was an online event, but a friend Nomlix played in it and took an Artabax Sapphire Steel list. And again, Sapphire Steel didn't win, but it took a very large chunk of the top cut out. So we go into here, and again, as much as I've not really on Alice anymore, she just keeps popping up, she keeps performing very well. So maybe I'm the one who's in the wrong, and maybe I should back the horse that I was backing in the last set and keep on the Sapphire and keep on Alice. But yeah, really cool. I'm liking that the list is finding room for Zeus. That was sort of something I was struggling with, but I think you can take the John Silvers out and put the Zeuses in. Taking the Docks out completely as well. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think Tala's not bad as a replacement as well. In a sense, you are not drawing 2 cards, but you are getting to dig 2 cards deeper and make a decision on 2 cards. So if they're bricks, you know they're bricks, but you get to pick one of the 2 cards and you get to set up more singers for Zeus. So I think overall this list is really cool. And what I really like about the Alice and what it's really sorry about that. My voice is sort of going. I probably should fix that in editing if I did any editing on these videos. Um, what I like about Alice mainly is that she can close the game out a lot quicker than the Artabax list that I'm in playing. She's always been the way I've tried to describe her in coaching and guides is that she can be your Daisy card if you wanted. She can close the game out very early, giving her a three quester basically, so she's almost better than Daisy and providing ward on something, so that also gets the quest as well. So yeah, I'm very much missing Alice actually. Maybe I've made the wrong call by not playing her. It's really nice to see her keep popping up in all of these lists. Um, and we get down to here. I don't know why. I'm just going to mention this. Don't know why Dreamborn, no, Ink Deck, sorry, why you guys refer to a majority of Sapphire Steel List as Cogsworth and Friends. I don't know where Cogsworth and Friends ever came from. But this is cool. Looking very much like the Set 6 version with a few changes in there. Going higher on the docks, which dock is always that card that if you top deck can get you back into the game. So I don't think that's a bad call at all. Keeping some Lawrence and the Allison, it seems like a lot are making the decision between the Alice or the Lawrence, but playing two copies of it's pretty cool with the Alice as well. And the Simba, I think Simba's pretty good because you're gonna have a lot of games where you might have a Alice and a Lawrence in hand, and you want to play maybe the Lawrence that is better in this matchup. So you can Simba draw, discard the Alice, and play the Lawrence instead. I've been preferring the new Mulan, which is a 2/1 in my list, but I think yeah, that's a really cool thing to keep those like looters in there. Two Tamatars is fine, I think, as well. The deck's quite aggressive. Like I say, you're trying to close the game out before Tamatur becomes that relevant, but if you don't manage to do that, you can go on for a bit longer and draw some items and keep flooding a bit more. Four Cogsworth as well into like a steel meta. That's just crazy. Like now I've got 8 ward cards, and one of the ward cards provides ward for something else. The most interesting card though in the list is that it has Let It Go in there, and it's just a card I hadn't really thought would ever be that relevant in it. I guess you do have some singers in there. Hardcasting it, that's like a catch-all for everything, and it's inkable. It's not like Zeus where it's not inkable, and you kind of have to play it if you draw it. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I hadn't really thought. I'd really like to see how this player thought Let It Go worked in their list and if it should stick around. But that's a really cool inclusion in there. Definitely for sure. And it's mad though to see actually in this event that the uh, what do you call it? The aggro lists are taking. This is Nomlix, by the way. The player I mentioned, he's done very well. The aggro list are taking a lot more of the percentage of the top cut finishes in Europe, but in America, the ramp, Oswald, and dime finishing decks are sort of taking control there. So it's very interesting to see our metas land up in different regions. But yeah, he's gone for an Artabax style list, which is really nice. I think what we've mentioned though is with Cogsworth is he's always feels quite negative to play tempo wise, like playing a 5 drop that's never really going to quest or do much. He's just going to protect the board. But I think if you're into a mirror or a situation, maybe Amber still as well, where you don't have any Cogsworth and they can just take full advantage of that. Say you made cut and they checked your deck list and you have not even one copy of Cogsworth, or when you're playing game 2 or 3 and you haven't inked a Cogsworth yet, they're going to assume you don't have any. They can take full advantage of that and just take full advantage of their steel removal. Whereas if you have one or two, you can play it down, make them respect it, and make them respect that board protection. So overall, really awesome list. I think it's pretty much the same as what I'm running, except these would be Mulans, and I think it's 4 Let the Storm Rage on. I'm quite a believer in if you're going to play Let the Storm Rage on, you go for 4, because when you can get the bell down turn 1 and she can sing Let the Storm Rage on, especially versus purple decks, it's pretty much game winning sometimes. You win the board, you're up 1 card, and you have a 3/3 on board. So I try and maximize that as often as I can. But I think dropping down 1 doesn't drop those percentages that high, that low. And this deck is not trying to stomp you out of the game instantly. It can play a more of a grinding matchup. It can play a bit more of a slow resolve matchup. It's weird how it's looking at the other lists like that have Alice in. They're not very much card difference. It's mainly just the Alice sometimes, but they do aim for a different playstyle. This one's trying to close the games out in a much slower um, pace, really. It tries to grind you out, resource war you, playing the Tamatoas, the Hirams, and all the items, of course, and then the Talas and everything like that, just to keep the hand constantly fresh. Whereas the Alice list wanted to close the game up fairly quickly and wants to aggressively quest, and that's why a lot of people are nicknaming it the aggro version as well. So it's very interesting, but this is the kind of list I've been working on and been sat on. I definitely need to try some more Alice builds after seeing how well it's been performing for a lot of other people. And the final one, and again, look, no Sapphire Steel top, which is awesome. I think, well, it's awesome to see for the meta. The meta is going to be wide and there's going to be loads of different deck options. But of course, if you're a Sapphire Steel enjoyer, it'd be nice to see our deck actually win something. But we always take the rightful place in the top four. That's what we love to do. Um, but this is over to an American event, and as I say, we go back to playing these sort of more ramp, high end lists. Which, to be honest with you, in my opinion, I'm kind of getting to this point where you get with Sapphire Steel deck building, where if we are gonna play the ramp game, I might as well play Ruby Sapphire, as I feel like they do the ramp game a lot better than we do. That's a horrendous statement, I understand, but I still think they do the ramp game just a lot better than us. So that's kind of why I dropped to playing Kiwi in the last set, because I felt like we weren't doing anything better than one of the most popular meta decks. So we need to aim to do something a little bit different and change our game plan up. But to be honest with you, this again is the not far off the deck I run on the Saturday and Sunday at Axion for set 7 events. Pretty much the same. I do like all of the inclusions in here. And again, I did enjoy it. I kind of just came to the conclusion that I'm not doing anything better. I played 3 Ruby Sapphires, and I came to the conclusion I wasn't doing anything better than they were. So why not just play a more low to the ground and take advantage of the other aspects of Sapphire? But I think this is awesomeness. I think you've covered a lot of ground here as well. I think the arrow is pretty good into those coil decks, into those Ruby Sapphires. So hopefully you can get the wins there. And then fire the cannons, I think that needs to come in, especially in American metas where green steel is fairly popular still. I only say this is in a weird way that in Europe, just green steel never seems to turn up as well. And we never really have to prep for it, we never have to play it too much. You might locally, I might say that, and then in the comments you can say locally, I have like 3 green steel players. I'm pretty sure some people do. It's not like the deck doesn't exist here. It's just, it's very rare I find a matchup when I'm against green steel. I did play one for the weekend, but then you say like over all of the decks and seeing all of the meta shares, I'm not seeing green steel as important as the others, but Fire the Cannons is in there, of course, so you're not just fully reliant on Bell shifting turn one to let the Storm Rage on to shoot Diablo or something like that. And especially in these ramp decks where you can't do 100% of your mulligan can be spent on trying to find Bell turn one, sing a song. You have to put some of it into trying to find the ramp, trying to find the 4-drop that you land on after you've done the ramp. So you kind of have to think a bit more about the matchup really. And I believe this is actually Justin's list, who's an awesome guy. He's the actual inventor of Kiwi, and he's got the One Stone Dragon in there as well. So yeah, really awesome list, and exactly that's kind of why it's what I would play because it was actually pretty much just copying his list, which is really cool. But again, I'm just personally, I have talked to him about this list as well, because I was just struggling with it so much over the weekend, and I wasn't getting the results that I really wanted. But yeah, if it's just ramps not vibing with you this set, that's fine because aggro BS is still doing very, very well. And then we've got David, Attack for Two is his name online, you might know him, and they all sort of worked on this list together as well. And looks like they've got really good results from it getting a top 8 finish. And I think it's really what Sapphire Steel no wheel lists are going to end up looking like. I think going to set, I think we're at a point as well where we don't even need to say no wheel lists. I think just this is what standard Sapphire Steel is going to look like. Not an Oswald build, not a Kiwi, not an aggro. They're going to end up looking like trying to capitalize on this 1-2-4 game plan of get the item down, get the ramp on 2, get the 4-drop down, and then you've of course got fire the cannons to get that early aggression stopping, and then get to the Tamatoa to shoot out the dime and play the Tamatoa and dime tap it. And that's sort of the very standard game plan that you want in there. A lot of these items as well, like Great Stone Dragon's great, but it's kind of just trying to maximize that hit off Scrooge so he does replace himself. And when he replaces himself, you're hoping he does it with an inkable card as well. So yeah, overall kind of a really cool list. I played it and I just wasn't really vibing with it, and it just didn't feel like how I wanted to play the color combo in this set. So probably won't be, but I think this is definitely what will be the outcome of what standard Sapphire Steel will look like for all the players who don't want to play Oswald and don't want to play Kiwi. But of course, I think Oswald will still be the most popular one out of the 3 choices, just because it seems to be crazy good fun to play as well. And there's just one more I'd mention as well. This is Jonathan Lamb's list. Um, of course, amazing player, like probably the most decorated and best Sapphire Steel players, at least best whole new world Sapphire Steel player there is out there. And it's just awesome. He's just trying out some new cards in there as well. Utter toolbox of a deck as well in there. You know, look how much far I'm having to scroll to get the whole list on the screen. And I'm not even still getting the whole list on the screen. But yeah, it's nice to see that Miss Bianca is getting play. It's a card I haven't really had to test because the main benefit of her is that you can get her down on 4, but she is a 6 cost, so she's able to sing that Whole New World or that Let It Go or that Grab Your Swords for you. So yeah, it's nice to see that card being played. I'm seeing it played a lot in the Whole New World, so like Amber Steel as well is getting used to that. But there's just so much toolbox in here with the Find and Platinum. You've got like 4 or 5 dime targets in there, and they're quite spread out and they're quite different utility. You've got Hades and Arthur to interact. There's just so much going on here. Still 2 visions as well. It's like the dig in the deck is insane. But it's very much Jonathan Lamb, and I've always tried to play his lists, and I can never get into his headspace of how these cards are working together for him. So not really a list I reckon I could pilot into any form of good performance. But amazing list. I'm sure a lot of people will be playing this as well. And as I say, I think that the no wheel lists will become the more popular versions of Sapphire Steel. I think lists like this will probably be the standard for the no wheel for the wheel lists because Jonathan Lamb's just a great player, and if his lists are getting made public like this, people will use this as a very good prototype on how to build their decks. But this is the list I've been playing. I played it over the weekend. I didn't play it over the weekend, sorry. I just wanted to scratch that itch with the ramp version of Sapphire Steel because um, I bought the Scrooges and I bought the Tamatoas and they cost a lot of money, so I wanted to use them. But this is probably one I'm going to be thinking about the most. The only other thing is I want to put some more testing into some Alice builds because it just looks like over those results we just looked over, Alice is still performing very, very well. So I think she needs to be more tested by me, and maybe I need to respect that card a bit more. But very much enjoying this game plan. It's you can do a lot of grinding matchups, and without the ramp in this build, going for that turn 1 bell, you can really dig for it. You can do full 7 card mulligans for it. You know, you can send everything back, and what you fall back on is because a lot of the cards are quite dense on lower cost cards rather than what we had in set 6 with these lower to the ground builds like we had with set 6 Kiwi. Um, we had a lot of 5 costs in there, so we couldn't really send everything back. But in this build, we can send those 2 drops back to look for the bell item and the song, because what we'll land on is probably another 2 drop or an item to play on turn 2 or a Mulan to play on turn 2, so we can start shaping up the hand again if all fails when we're looking for that bell. So overall, it's been really good. It does not feel like the aggro style when we include the Alice. It feels more of a grinding matchup. But yeah, this is what I've really been enjoying and probably what I'm going to stick with for the rest of the set. But I hope sort of that rambling over some of these deck lists was worth mentioning, um, or was worth for talking about. But yeah, I think what we're looking at is a meta where Oswald Sapphire Steel will probably be right at the top and be the most played. I think it rewards the riskier plays. I think the high rolls are really what people want to enjoy. I think it has the most overpowered lines, but just by sheer luck of inking getting a workshop, getting a free dime. Like that's just going to be awesome. People are going to, roll their way into a top cup just by doing things like that. That's just awesome that you can do that, and that's if that's how you want to play. And then I think sort of going into um, the it's like second place most common lists are going to be the Justin sort of newish Sapphire Steel list here, was just sort of trying to do a 1-2-4 game plan of play an item on turn 1, ramp on turn 2, and then get a 4 drop down and start like progressing your win con with that way. It's really good. That 4 cost Scrooge, putting that down early is just locking a lot of people out of playing the game, to be honest with you. It's going to trade up nicely everything from your 1 to 2. The best response is to go 4 wide and sing strength on it. So it's quite a powerful card. I wouldn't say it's a sleeper. I think people knew about that, but I think it's more powerful than people thought. I think we thought Tamatoa, Bell, and Coil were way more powerful, but no, I think Scrooge also holds his own. And then third, I think it is going to have to be this Kiwi sort of style deck that we have here with the Alice aggroing everyone out. Just looking at all these results, I mean, I thought the deck was not going to have legs in set 7, but it just seems like it's still performing very well. It seems like you can build it in different ways and take the full docks out and then go on the high rooms, or you can go the other way and put the high rooms, take the docks, put some more docks in, and then play less high rooms, or however you want to build it. So yeah, it seems like it's got a lot of legs. And then finally, I think these Artabax lists will come in, and I don't think we're at a point yet where we can say which list is better or which one was the best version of Sapphire Steel to play for set 7. I think there's still so much testing and so much to be done. Of course, as well, none of these decks won these events. Like, I know there's luck on the day and there's variables, but over all of these events, you'd assume one of them because it also Sapphire Steel has had like 50% meta share turnout to these events as well. So you'd expect one of them to have finished first. So yeah, I'm just going to end it now because this is going to be rambling about Sapphire Steel, which is what I love to do, but I don't think it's that useful if I just keep talking. So thank you.